Good evening. Welcome to ACC's Voices East-West Dialogues with Wern Ying Hwarng and Charles McCarry. We're going to open the program, and Ambassador Tom Lee and Asian Cultural Council's Executive Director Judy Kim will give opening remarks.
Hello, good evening. My name is Tom Ji-Chang Lee. I'm the Director General of Taipei Economic and Cultural Office in New York. So on behalf of the TECO New York, I want to welcome all of you to this meaningful event. And this event is meaningful because this is the first time the ACC showcase Taiwan. Taiwan is the focus of the East-West dialogue. So on behalf of the TECO New York, I want to extend our sincere thanks to Executive Director Judy Kim and the entire ACC team. I have been posted to our New York office for only 3 months. So I look at the map all the time, and I see Chinatown, and I see Koreatown. And probably you don't know the Flushing used to be called Little Taipei. So I guess you must agree with me, New York City is a perfect place to host this kind of East-West dialogue. And yesterday I had a dinner with one of my friends, and at the dinner we did talk about the East-West dialogue, even though I have no idea why we talk about it. And what my friends say really impressed me, so I want to share with all of you. My friend said, if you use the first letter, West, you have W. And if you have the first letter of East, you have E. So if you put them together, and then you have a we. So in concluding my remarks, I want to say that together we can have better understanding, and we can make the world better. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ambassador Lee, for those words. Good evening. As Shini said, my name is Judy Kim. I'm the Executive Director of Asian Cultural Council, or better known sometimes as ACC. For those of you who might not be familiar with ACC, we were founded in 1963 by John D. Rockefeller III to promote international dialogue between US and Asia. And in addition to our office in New York, we actually have 4 affiliated foundation offices in Asia, in Hong Kong, Japan, the Philippines, and of course, Taiwan. And the Taiwan office was founded in 1995, so we're looking at our 30th anniversary next year. This evening, it's a great pleasure, really, to co-organize this program with our colleagues at the Taipei Cultural Center in New York, Ministry of Culture, Republic of China, Taiwan. I wish to extend a special thank you to Ambassador Lee and the entire team here, but also especially Hui-Chun Chang, the director, who's been a great friend and colleague and partner in organizing what I hope will be first of many for us, ACC and TCC. I don't have the WE, but ACC and TCC, that's pretty catchy, right? So lastly, what I will say is that under the umbrella of ACC's public program series, or ACC Voices, we're delighted to present this evening's East-West Dialogue, which is a lecture series made possible by a generous gift from Shoji and Tsuneko Sadao to ACC. So welcome, thank you so much, and I hope you enjoy the program. Thanks, Shini.
Now let's welcome Wern Ying and Charles to the stage. We'll take a quick group photo with the ambassador before we sit down.
How would you like this?
I think it's the center.
How would you?
Maybe we can balance.
So we're really excited to have Charles and Wern Ying for ACC Voices here at TCC. My name is Shinny Kim. I'm the Director of Programs at Asian Cultural Council, and I'll be moderating the discussion tonight. And there will be a Q&A session at the end, so you'll get to ask any questions or share your comments after the discussion. I'll start by introducing our two speakers, Wern Ying and Charles. Wern Ying Hwarng is a production and costume designer and filmmaker who has worked as the long-term art director for Taiwanese film master Ho Xiaoxian, as well as the supervising art director for the film Silence by Martin Scorsese. Wern Ying is a recipient of a 2015 ACC Individual Fellowship, and she became a member of the U.S. Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences in 2019. In 2023, Wern Ying directed her first feature film, Be With Me. Charles E. McCarry is a veteran production designer whose credits include Ridley Scott's American Gangster, Martin Scorsese's The Departed, Steven Spielberg's War of the Worlds, and M. Night Shyamalan's The Sixth Sense. In 2022, Charles participated in a grant project funded by ACC in Taiwan. So Charles, you've been working as a production designer for decades. Could you tell us what do production designers do and what their roles are?
Yes. Thank you for that great question. Production designers, you might say, not everyone is familiar with what those folks do. They can claim some authorship of the finished product if a moving picture means an image, and an image is helped into being by the production designer. So production designers get a script and they read it, and then they start to analyze the script and the nuts and bolts, who enters where, who does what. But much more than that, production designers are required to know the history, sometimes the geography, the politics, the sexual habits, the culinary pleasures of the people the film is about. The research never stops. You are learning always about the characters whose world you are creating. And it's probably the most interesting job you could ever have, because you never know what the next thing you're going to have to become an expert on is all about. And it never does quite end. I could go on, but you get the idea. It's, by the end of it, you need to have a kind of encyclopedic knowledge of something that's often not a very big deal. And you do, and you become an interesting conversationalist as a result. There you are.
And Wern Ying, how about you? You also have worked with a number of renowned film directors, such as Martin Scorsese, Luc Besson, and Ho Xiaoxian. What were your experience like collaborating with them as a production designer?
Wow, with those great directors, yeah, it's such a privilege to be able to work with three of them. I worked with Ho Xiaoxian for like a long, long time, since 1994, until his recent film, not recent, like a film was done 10 years ago called Assassin. It got the best director from Cannes Film Festival. So, and I think they are all great, because I remember that when David Lee is here, he's the producer for Silence. I was so great to see him here. Yeah, without him, the Silence won't go to Taipei. And it's been great, because for Silence, I have to do a lot of research. Like Charles said, the film is all about time and space. So when you did period film, so you really need to do a lot. You really need to do a lot of research about that period. Or even if it's in the future, that you have to make your imagination go wild. So I don't know if this answers your question. And for Lupe Song, because his mind is so fast, and then he's also not only a good director, he also a very good cinematographer. And then his thinking is really fast, so you really have to think as he does, so you can keep up with him. Yeah, I really enjoy working with, it's such a privilege, yeah. I learned a lot.
Mm-hmm. And in 2015, through the ACC Fellowship Program, you went to India for 6 months. Mm-hmm. Tell us about your fellowship experience and how this fellowship shaped you as a person and for your career.
Oh, see, I always love Indian film, so thanks ACC. The reason I apply for the fellowship is because I always fascinating about the fabric and also the embroidery of it's such a wonderful. You can see all kinds of selection from different provinces of India. So at that time, if you know Mumbai is the center for Bollywood film. That's why I went there for 3 months, and thanks to ACC for giving me this grant, because I really make up my mind in Mumbai, and then I said I would love to be a director, because I love to. I'm not a control freak, but I really I think it's nice that when you when you are a director, so you can sort of foresee everything. So I used to be a production designer, but I have to listen to producer and director, and then I hate those. So to be a director, I can exercise my power more.
You go on believing that.
So you successfully transitioned from being a production designer to a film director and directed your first feature film, Be With Me, in 2023. I'm going to play a short clip about the film before we continue our discussion.
Action!
Be With Me is a feature film made in Taiwan. The film is about romance and family. It is approximately 120 minutes long and set in the 1940s, 1980s, and modern day in the beloved Taiwan cities of Chiayi, Taichung, and Taipei. The world-renowned director Ho Xiaoxian is the executive producer. It is the directorial debut of Wern Ying Hwarng, starring the biggest actors in the Chinese-speaking world, including Ariel Lin, Vic Zhou, Ethan Ron, and Joseph Zhang. For decades, Wern Ying has been the production designer for many notable films and is also one of the very few Oscar Academy members from Asia. Yu Jinping is the most prestigious cinematographer in China, Hong Kong, and Taiwan. Her last film was nominated for Best International Film at the Oscars. She is also an Academy member. Be With Me's main character is a strong and independent woman with a dream she intends to achieve. She knows that her experience and determined spirit are her greatest strength, and that her strength will make her dream come true.
My life has so many memorable people and events. This memory have inspired this film.
In the 1940s, my grandpa ran a small hotel by a train station in Chiayi.
It was here that we learned to be kind and tender to the travelers we encountered. Over time, my natural instincts led me to share these precious personal stories in this film.
So, Wern Ying, what else can you tell us about the film? What was it like to direct your first feature film?
The film is about memory and a memory through 3 generations. Like you saw on the clip that my grandfather, he runs a small hotel in front of train station in Jiayi. Like, if you've been to Taiwan, like there's a famous mountain called Alishan. So whenever you go to Alishan, you have to stay in Jiayi. So my grandfather has this hotel in 1920. When he was like 20-something, he started this hotel. And the reason I make this film is because during the pandemic, my father passed away. So I accompanied with him to go through all the chemotherapy. And then we all have this great memory that he talked about his father, my grandfather. So I accompanied with my father, so we have a lot of great memory about my grandfather. And my grandfather shaped I think because he's so fond of all the beautiful objects. So I thought he sort of like shaped my personality, and then the way I looking at people and the way we treat friends. So that's it's a family memory through 3 generations. And it's a film about love and missing someone that it's really important to you and really influenced you a lot. So that's the movie about. It's about family, family memory.
And you also founded Taiwan Film and Cultural Association with Ho Xiaoxian. Can you tell us about the organization a little bit?
Oh, yes. At that time, I think we founded in 1999, because at that time, the film industry, the Taiwan film industry is not doing really well, because so Ho Xiaoxian has this idea that he wanted to do some, maybe apprentice way to train the filmmaker. So that's why we start this association, and maybe we can do some education and through the apprenticeship, maybe that we can have good eye to watch film. Sorry for my English, but I hope you can understand. So we've been doing this since 1999, and now we have 2 major art house cinema in Taipei, and then showing the Taiwanese film and also the international film. So if you come to Taipei, you are welcome to go to Spot Film. Show art film, yes.
And in 2022, Taiwan Film and Cultural Association received an organization grant from ACC and invited Charles as a project participant. Charles, can you talk us through what it was like to participate in the grant activities, and what were some of the cultural and professional highlights of your time in Taiwan?
Sure. Well, first of all, it's always a real pleasure to be, standing next to somebody who really knows what they're doing and does it with grace. And so Wern Ying is that person. It was just great to be with her and see the project. I was kind of invited to sort of, keep an eye on things and help here and there. I hope that I was of some help. I also had a starring role in the background in that scene that you just saw. So mostly I got to work with a group of very serious but somewhat lighthearted good souls, is the way I would put it, which is not how I would describe your typical New York crew, with which I am quite familiar. And the pleasure of that experience is hard to put into words, but it, I think, infused the film. And there's a kind of genuineness in this film that you can't fake genuineness, can you? And I think that's one of the things we were talking about upstairs, the crew, all those people that are around and who they are and what they're like and how they behave. Also, of course, the beautiful story that's told, almost like a Russian, one of those Russian dolls where there's another one inside and another one inside, and there's grandfather, and there's generations, and some generations yet to be born who are sort of the subject of this film. In fact, who knows what's going to happen with our main character? There might be another generation happening by the end of the film. We'll never know. Anyway, I'm going back in October to do some other stuff and talk to some other folks about other things. And I don't know what happened. I just love being there and working with those most excellent crews. And I particularly have had the opportunity to do some workshops in colleges and so on. And I particularly am enthusiastic about the young filmmakers coming up, for whom Wern Ying will end up being a sort of elder, which is hard for me to believe, but that is what's going to, since we have known each other all these years. But she's a very appropriate elder, I think. And can't wait to see what they come up with. I didn't really answer your question, did I? Okay.
Charles has come to Taiwan, as you see on the clip, because in my film, like during my grandfather's, like during the Japanese colonium, do you know the Taiwan history? Because from before 1945 was occupied by Japan. I shouldn't use the word occupy, it should be ruled by Japan. So my grandfather's hotel was bombed by the US Army. So the hotel was destroyed so many times, maybe 3 times. So Charles has come to Taiwan and helping me build this beautiful, historical, accurate scene like set in 1941. So that, like you've seen in the clip, there's like 2 very important historical site, landmark, the Jiayi train station. And during the wartime, so it was got bombing. And also my grandfather's hotel was destroyed. So we have to sort of like to build a set for that. And also because the war, and also the earthquake at the same time. So people are so afraid of to staying at home, so they just sleep around the fountain area. So that's why that we have those model make. And that's why Charles is in Taiwan. Yeah.
I guess that's one of the things I did. I have to say the production, modest production, although expensive, modest, invested a great deal of energy in research. I mean, these documents from the Department of Defense, appeared with imagery of the bombed hotel. I'm ashamed to say the United States bombed Chiayi. So anyway, what are you going to do? It's almost like Job, this man who's sort of at the center of this, is like a very optimistic Job in a way, and you know where all that led. So here you have someone who's actually, that's the history, which is now in a film. But I don't want to underestimate the amount of work that went into researching. All of this stuff was gone. The film takes place in 3 periods, and the first 2 periods don't exist anymore. The first one absolutely doesn't exist anymore. So it was quite interesting to see what would come in as the production reached out trying to get the information it needed to recreate, I think pretty successfully, these long gone small town aspects of the film, which contribute so greatly to the warmth of the story. It's a bit bustling these days, that town, but in those days it wasn't. It was quieter. And I think that we were able to create that world. I hope so, anyway. I think you did.
I have my last question already, but is there anything else you want to discuss in depth that you haven't touched upon?
Hey, maybe you should show the clip again, because the model we are making, and also the spatial effect, because we have to do a lot of research, for the street scene, because I did a lot of research on the 1941. That's the fountain, the central fountain. It still exists in Chiayi, but it looked different during the 1941. Of course, the architect is different. Yeah. And Charles was able to help us doing all this miniature model, which is really helpful for the visual effect. Yeah.
Recreations of what has long been gone. Well, that's what we do anyway, isn't it?
Yeah, after bombing and the scene after earthquake. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Should I give can I mention the actors a little bit? I mean, for those of you who haven't seen the film, which is everybody, I think the casting is quite interesting. And I don't want to say anything I'm not supposed to say, so I'll just say, when someone who might be the love of your life comes along in a film, or might not be, and is played by the actor who has played your grandfather earlier in the film, the same actor, that tells you you're not looking at just another film. There's something going on here that is worth paying attention to. And for more information, you have to go see the film. But it's quite daring, I think.
And one thing you skipped might be how you first met. You have a long history of friendship and collaboration. So if you want to talk about that a little bit.
I'll talk a little bit, and then you were 8. I first met Charles in 1990, which is 34 years ago. And Charles was really young. He just graduated from Yale Drama School, and then he taught me in Carnegie Mellon for stage design, scenic art. Yeah, scenic design. Scene design. Yes. Yes. Well, it's close enough. I forgot the title of the program. And he's my beloved mentor, because of him he always told me that not just only be a designer and you need to be an artist. I think it was influenced by Ming-Cho Lee, because he's the beloved student. Do you know Ming-Cho Lee? Ming-Cho Lee is great great master of stage design in American history, right? Because he came to...
I would say,
yeah.
you know, great artist, and was my teacher at Yale, and I will say, if you have a good teacher, you go away with a lot more than you went in with, and he certainly taught us all how to do the craft, but also how to be the person doing the craft, and that's a different thing, and it's really important, because otherwise you could jump off the roof on any given day, and he taught us how not to do that, and to persevere, et cetera, et cetera. Anyway, in the same class, we had some very brilliant students. Just one is the fellow who's now designing, let me see, American Horror Story and a number of other very successful. So we've had a lot of success with that Carnegie Mellon class. But the best student in that class and the most interesting person in that class is sitting right here. And it's just been wonderful knowing her all these years. And this is what she should have been doing 30 years ago. She's a wonderful filmmaker. I'm sure you're going to love this film. It's going to move your heart. There you go.
And Charles is the executive producer for my film, and that's why that with ACC's grant, Charles is able to come to stay in Taipei for several months with multiple trips, right?
You did that, so thanks. You guys did that. It was a blessing to be there on this thing from the beginning to the end, more or less. And hopefully you'll feel that when you see the picture, that there was good mojo behind the making of this picture.
Okay. So as a final note, can you both share your thoughts on the importance of collaboration and cultural diversity in filmmaking?
Charles.
Well, never at a loss for words. Here's the proof that, of course, we're richer the more diverse we are. I mean, you're in New York, so you know that's true. I myself have found that, as we were saying upstairs, there's a world, like a nation of filmmakers. Like musicians. We're all sort of in the same country, in a way, the country of filmmaking. But then, within that country, everybody sort of has a good idea of what everybody else is up to. But then comes the really interesting part, you know, how you make a sandwich, or what you do when you pray, etc. And you learn so much about who you might have been, or who that person, you know, it's diversity. I'm talking to New York, so of course you understand. It's the richest, most valuable experience you could ever have in your life, to work with folks from somewhere else who are essentially the same as you, except they're not at all, and that's where the beauty of it comes from. But the other thing is, we do all know certain tricks of the trade that we can swap and share. And how would you know, be sure to run up the hill as the sun is setting and get your last shot at the top of the hill, because the sun is still going to be there and it's not going to be anywhere else. Now that's Roger Corman, but you get the idea. You pick up tools of the trade from your colleagues that you might not otherwise be exposed to. And anyway, we have such great crews on this project. I think everybody was rowing in the same direction, which is just a joy to behold. And that's, I think, I encourage everyone to be diverse. And I'm sure Wern Ying does too. I'm being a little sarcastic when I say it, but I'm not. It's probably the greatest thing we can do since air travel has been invented, is get out there and go somewhere else and work with those people. And it's a pretty small world in the end, you know?
Yeah, and especially nowadays for the film industry, there's a lot of co-production. And when you work with people from like different culture, so, but since we are all in the film nation, so we have the same goal, like, which is the script. So you just do the script, telling you to do it, and then you do the best, and then you respect people, because for the co-production that there's many people from different countries. So especially you need like human compassion to work with all these great people like Charles.
Always will be grateful to ACC for not only, you know, putting your money where your mouth is and so forth, but truly believing that this is important and ought to happen. And it is important and it ought to happen. We're about to blow ourselves up if we don't watch out. And this is, you know, the counterbalance to that. And may we do a lot more of it a lot more frequently.
I also would like to thanks to Taipei Cultural Center and ACC for hosting this event. So we can, especially with Charles, I can reunite with you in New York, although we reunite in Taipei quite a lot. But I think thanks to Taipei Cultural Center and ACC, and I really, it's a great honor to be here. Yeah, truly, yes. Thank you.
It sure is, no doubt about it.
Thank you, Wern Ying and Charles. We'll open the floor for questions from the audience. Please raise your hand, and my colleagues will hand over a microphone.
This one.
Hello. You mentioned, Hwarng, that your film is about memory. And you can see from the clips or the scenes that you displayed that memory really informs your work. I was wondering if you have any memories together or in other cross-cultural collaborations that have inspired your projects that followed.
Not that we can share.
You mean that I'm working with, is there any, the story that I'm working with other director?
Yes, any memories with each other or other collaborations that you really took away that inspired your future projects afterwards?
I think every project I work with nowadays, it's sort of like very international. If I work as a production designer, then it's all co-production, and so you need to be really fast because the director's brain is so fast. So you really have to keep up with their mind. So you really have to think as a director. And then so for each director or each crew I work with, like for instance, I work with Luc Besson last summer, and I think he is also a very good cinematographer, and I think I really learned a lot of the if I'm going to make a martial art film. Because of him, I really want to make a martial art film, but in a contemporary way. And the way he handled his camera really makes me want to, almost want to be a cameraman, but it's such a very, it's certainly a very specific technique. So I really think I get a lot of inspiration by each production, not just, even I work with the young director, I think I also learn a lot of their creative mind. Like Charles said, that you want us to be different and unique. Remember? Yeah.
Seems like a good idea. If you are different and unique, you should be different and unique than you are. We encourage the talent to be what they are, you know. That's what you're supposed to do when you're teaching. So
I don't know if I answer your question, though.
Hi, can you discuss your education and how you got to where you are today? And I also at the Carnegie Mellon, so I know at that time, Asians are a rarity in Carnegie Mellon, especially in drama. So I'm kind of curious how just being immersed in Pittsburgh has changed your outlook from when you started.
Huh. You also from Carnegie Mellon?
Yes.
Wow. When were you? In which department?
I was in social sciences, so
okay.
I know drama tends to be on their own, so they're very closed off from everyone else. CFA is also very closed off from kind of the rest of the people, so yeah. So I was very surprised that you were from Carnegie Mellon, and I know, again, it's, when I went there, Pittsburgh was very economically kind of depressed because of steel, and it was still a quote-unquote regional school at the time, not except for drama, which I didn't know very much about.
Huh.
Do you like Pittsburgh?
I really love Pittsburgh.
There you go.
Yeah. If I want to buy a house, I'll buy it in Pittsburgh.
Nice place in Squirrel Hill or something?
Yeah. I haven't been back since, like,
well, it's still
2012.
there. You go out for the opening of Be With Me.
Okay.
They'll be screening it there, I can guarantee you. There will be no question about that.
Okay. I didn't hear you, though.
I want to find out what your experience was in Pittsburgh, because Asians were very rare in Pittsburgh at the time that you were there. And also, especially in drama, Asians were kind of a rarity in drama in Pittsburgh in the 90s.
Oh, why did I pick Carnegie Mellon? Because they gave me the, there's a Heinz Fellowship. Do you know Heinz, the ketchup? Yeah, they gave me the fellowship. And also the drama program in Carnegie Mellon is quite famous in the East Coast. A lot of good actors, they actually graduate from Carnegie Mellon. And also there's a theater, a very good theater, and then also they have Three River Shakespeare's Festival every summer. And also the Carnegie Mellon have this very good practical training with Santa Fe Opera. So I actually work in Santa Fe Opera for 2 or 3 summers. Do you know Santa Fe Opera? It's associated to the Met.
Well, it's a wonderful school with a wonderful heritage, and of course the great thing about CMU is that across the quad there are all these scientists, lots of them, and they're doing all kinds of interesting things, and so inevitably there was kind of a blending. But I think Wern Ying would have been a remarkable student, at Slippery Rock State College, anywhere in the US, because she was determined, as she says about the young lady in this film. She's determined to make her dreams come true, and seems to be doing that. But she was, without a doubt, one of the finest students that school ever graduated, and I'm so happy we've stayed in touch all these years.
Hi, thanks for coming. That's a wonderful lecture. My question is, how do you think about the relationship between you as a production designer and the DP, which is all focusing on the visual parts? And do you have any recommendation or principle of how are you as a production designer to work with certain DP? Thank you.
Wow. It's actually with DP. See, because if my how to put this, the working relationship with between production designer and DP, they have to be very close, and then especially during the pre-production. That's why that when I work with DP, I will show them my design, and then he will show me how he's going to use what kind of lens of the camera. So that's how we have to talk a lot before each scene is filming. So it's kind of like, if you have this beautiful set or beautiful work or beautiful costume, and if the DP didn't film it well, no, see, like, have you ever, I always complain, and I always complain to the cinematographer that I worked with Hou Xiaoxian for my period film, Flower of Shanghai. I did costume and the set all together. But I always complain to Mark Li Pingbin. He's a very famous DP in Asia. And I always complain, why you have this light? It's so dim. So all the embroidery doesn't show. And all the detail.
The designer's
all the detail
nightmare.
doesn't seen. It cannot be seen.
Oh.
Yeah. But see that. But he's really true to the period, because during the 19th century, there's not such this different type of light. It's light. It's oil lantern. So it's historical authenticity.
What I'm thinking about, of course, is that famous scene in Barry Lyndon by candlelight, and Mr. Kubrick went and bought the lenses from NASA so that he could do that. And so DPs will work very hard to get the truth on film. And I think, if I can put words in Wern Ying's mouth, the goal is to have a conversation with the DP about the truth that you're trying to get at. And sometimes I would think the director might be a little surprised at what the DP does in service of that larger truth. But if you're really collaborating well, as you just said, you're going to get there. Even if you can't see all the beadwork on the stockings, you're going to get the larger truth. And I must say, the DP and Wern Ying on this project were like welded together, constantly sorting through what to do, how to approach it, this and that. And Wern Ying has a very, very strong point of view, gentle but strong. And the velvet glove, And it appears on the film, it appears in the screen. The hard work getting at the truth of the scenes that they must have been talking about when I wasn't around appears in the film. And that's strictly because she was listening very carefully to you and then had her own box of tools to give you what you were looking for, I think. Plus, of course, you, as one would expect, would have a great deal to say.
For my film, because I did all the location scouting, and then, so I pre-scouting the location, and the DP comes later, but I have to take her again to go through all the location, and we did have a wonderful and she's also a female cinematographer, which is really rare in Asia. And she's quite good and very fast. And then, since we speak in the same language, so it's a film about my family, so I think it's easier to talk to the DP. Yeah, but your question is about production designer, the relationship about production designer and DP, right? But For silence, we really have very good relationship because the one, Rodrigo, he is really good because he will, whenever we did a new scene, like maybe a week ahead, we will have this like discussion on the site, and then I will know exactly what kind of lens and what kind of composition he will have, because he has to keep showing to Martin Scorsese if this is the one he like. So we know pretty well that what are we going to shot during that time. But that was I think that's the very typical Hollywood production, because you really have to communication really closely. But in Taiwan, like our low budget production, it's really with the 默契. How you say 默契 in English? Do you know how to translate? That you really need a very good working relationship. Like if I click my finger, and the DP will know what I want to do. Yeah.
To finish each other's sentences, that sort of thing, when you're collaborating and so on, I think is where we're trying to go. If there's anybody here who wants to, grow up and be a production designer, I just have to say, the one thing not to overlook is lenses. You'd be amazed. You know it now because everybody has a phone, but it wasn't always ubiquitous. What a difference a lens makes. And it's something that a lot of us don't pay as much attention to as we should. It actually, it can affect the meaning of it a great deal. The reason I mention that is because you just dropped the word lenses into that discussion. And it's underreported that this is really important. It's really a big deal. And oftentimes it doesn't cost any more to change the lens as it would to change the set or the costume or anything else. And if you understand what that lens is giving you, you have you and your DP can have a real conversation just starting there. Would this be a 50 or would this be a,
85.
Those, yeah. Those,
135.
And there you go. So very important and often not considered as much as it ought to be. Just say that.
Hello. Would you like to share a little bit about your opinion or experience on Taiwan's image recently movies, in recently movies, I think. Yeah, that's my question. Like the transition, some challenges during the long career in film industry.
I don't quite understand. Can you repeat the question again? Sorry.
Okay. Would you like to share a little bit your thoughts on Taiwan's image or cultural elements in recent movies, no matter international films or national films?
You mean Taiwanese film?
Yeah. Like the image or some elements you used, how to show or how to make them perceived by the public.
It's hard to. I think Taiwan is the market, the box office of Taiwan is doesn't go very well for the past year, I think. Especially this year, the box office is not very good. And then they all go with the ghost film or the gangster film. So I didn't see much recently, though, so I really cannot comment on. But what I can say is, the young generation's filmmaker, they are very good quality, and they are very creative. And they are really, if they can find a reasonable budget of money to make their production, I'm sure the movie, the diversity of film, or the diversity of the story will be much grand. That's what I can say. But it's not easy to find money, the budget for the young filmmaker. I was lucky because I have the support from ACC, really. Yeah, because they are very generous, and then they have friends, and also friends of friends. So I'll go for the presentation, and they really help me a lot. But I think for the young generation, for the young director in Taiwan, they need more support, like from producer, because if David Lee can come to Taiwan and helping the young director for the funding, David Lee is here. He's the professor, but he is the producer of Andy. So I think he will be really good if he can help more young director, and also so we can make more cultural diversity film. Not just, the reason I'm not against a ghost film or like gangster film, but I think the diversity needs to be more like grand. Yeah.
All right, I guess we're coming to the end. So I just want to say, who doesn't love a good ghost or gangster film? I sure do. However, I just will say, as an American citizen who's very fond of Taiwan, I am waiting for that explosion, that French New Wave explosion of talent that I have seen all around me on my various visits over the last 10, 12 years, to erupt into an international sensation, a French New Wave kind of thing. And I don't know what we'll call it, but there are many notable Taiwanese films that are much appreciated. There's no question about that. What I keep waiting for is this group of young folks that I've been meeting to sort of erupt into this bold, couldn't be any place but Taiwan, captures the spirit of the place. And I'm waiting, and I'm going back, I'm going to keep looking for it until I come upon it. And I know there's individual gems all over the place, but I'm looking for that movement. There was one back before I was born, the Taiwanese New Wave, but it's been a while. That's a joke, because it was in the 90s. But that is, and I think we have, Exhibit A. There's a lot of this inside of me, waiting to see more of this, and who will come after, and what will they say. It's a unique situation, Taiwan, and therefore I would expect that the arts flowing out of Taiwan would include that and add vibrancy and urgency to their work. Could be comedies, could be ghost and gangster films, absolutely, and who doesn't love those? Anyway, that's what I have to say.
Yeah, they make big bucks off his head, yeah.
Thank you again. The program will continue upstairs with the reception. We appreciate you taking the time to join us tonight, and we look forward to seeing you at our next event. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you.
reception, you can either take the elevators to the second floor, or you can walk up the steps right here on the stage. Please do be careful if you're walking on the stage.